please spare my grandson's life and take my own life. He has done nothing wrong.
So shall it be.
They found Grandma digging her own grave before sunrise. No one believed it at first, not even Chidi, her grandson, who thought it was another one of her dramatic jokes. But there she was, 78-year-old Mama Ugo, holding a short, rusted hoe, cutting into the red earth with determination like someone finishing what she started long ago. "Grandma, what are you doing?" Chidi shouted, running toward her. Without pausing, she said, "Preparing for someone's homecoming." He laughed nervously. "Whose homecoming?" She looked at him then, her eyes sharp, serious, but calm. "Mine." That was the day everything began to change. Chidi had moved from the city to the village for a short stay after losing his job. Grandma welcomed him with open arms, saying, "Now I have company before I go." He thought she was just being dramatic, the way old people talk about death as if they were expecting a visitor. But Grandma wasn't just old, she was different. She lived alone in the same house she built with Grandpa 40 years ago. She didn't own a phone, didn't like neighbors, and refused to enter the church. Every morning, she washed her hands and feet with water kept inside a clay pot under her bed. "It's for cleansing," she always said. One evening, Chidi saw her arranging 7 stones behind the house in a perfect circle. He laughed and asked, "Are you starting a garden?" She smiled faintly. "Something like that. Every stone reminds me of someone I buried." That night, she told him stories. Not the usual kind about tortoises and tricksters, but stories that sounded almost real. She said once, a long time ago, she made a promise to something she shouldn't have. "It was after your grandfather died," she said, staring into the fire. "I was angry. I asked for power to never be helpless again, and power answered." Chidi didn't know whether to laugh or be scared. "Grandma, are you saying you made a deal?" She shrugged. "I made a promise, a foolish one, and promises don't die." The next day, strange things began to happen. Every time Chidi tried to fetch water from the stream, the calabash cracked before he reached home. Every time Grandma cooked, the firewood lit on its own, even without a matchstick. Then one night, Chidi woke up to see light coming from the backyard. Grandma was standing inside the stone circle, holding a white cloth in her hands, saying, "This is the last one. After this, we rest." He ran out. "Grandma, what are you doing?" She turned slowly, looked at him, and said, "You shouldn't have seen this." Then she dropped the cloth into the circle and covered it with soil. The next morning, she was silent. She didn't eat, she didn't speak, just sat on her mat, humming an old tune and watching the sunrise like it was her last. Days passed. Then one evening, a woman arrived at the compound. She was tall, wearing plain clothes, and introduced herself as Sister Felicia, a nurse from the nearby clinic. She said she came to check on Grandma, who hadn't visited in months. Grandma smiled faintly. "I'm fine, nurse. I'm just waiting for midnight." The nurse looked confused. "Midnight?" "Yes," Grandma replied, "the hour of collection." Chidi tried to laugh it off, but something in Grandma's tone made his chest tighten. That night, Chidi stayed awake. He sat by the doorway, pretending to read. Around midnight, he heard Grandma call his name, firm, strong, not weak like before. "Chidi, come outside." When he stepped out, he saw her standing in the middle of the compound, dressed in her best wrapper, beads around her neck, her hair tied neatly. The moonlight fell on her face, and for a moment, she looked younger. "It's time," she said softly. "The promise must end tonight." He ran toward her, frightened. "Grandma, stop this! Whatever you think you owe, let it go." She smiled gently. "It's not that simple. I took something that didn't belong to me. Now it's come to take me instead." "Take you? What do you mean?" She stepped closer and touched his cheek. "When your mother was born, she wasn't breathing. I begged for her life, and something answered. It gave her breath, but took years from me in return. I've been paying ever since. Every 12 years, it comes for a piece of me. This is the last one." Chidi froze, realizing she was serious. "Grandma, no, there must be another way." She shook her head. "Every deal has its price. I traded time for love, and now the time has ended." Then she pressed something into his hand, a small iron key. "When the first cock crows, go behind the house, open the pot under my bed, and pour it out. That's my promise. When you pour it, I'll finally rest." She smiled again, that same warm, tired smile, and turned back toward the stone circle. Chidi didn't sleep. He sat trembling, holding the key, waiting for the cock to crow. When morning finally came, he rushed inside, lifted the clay pot, and unlocked the small lid. Inside was water, dark and still, with something small floating inside, his mother's baby bracelet. He poured it onto the ground. The soil absorbed it quickly, and just then he heard a faint sound, like someone taking a deep, peaceful breath after holding it too long. He ran outside. Grandma was lying beside the stone circle, her head resting on one of the rocks, her hands folded on her chest. She looked peaceful, gone. 3 days later, after her burial, Sister Felicia returned with a brown envelope. "Your grandmother left this with me," she said. "She said to give it to you if she didn't return." Inside was a note written in Grandma's handwriting. "Chidi, every act of love has a cost. I don't regret paying mine. I chose life for your mother, and that choice made you possible. Take care of this land, for it carries both my mistake and my forgiveness. And never make promises when your heart is angry, only when it's ready to forgive." Chidi folded the letter and cried. He understood now. Grandma had not been crazy. She had been brave. He stayed in the village, rebuilt the small house, and planted flowers where the stones used to be. Whenever people passed by and asked who lived there before, he would smile and say, "A woman who made a promise and kept it." Years later, his own daughter was born, healthy, strong, and fearless. He named her Nne after his grandmother. And on nights when the moon was full, he would sit outside and remember her last words. "The price of love is never pain. The price of love is time, and I've paid mine in full."